Hello. Welcome to my Endymion deck profile. First things first, we have three Endymion Mighty Magister of Magic. Remove as a pendulum effect is remove six spell counters from the field to special summon him. Destroy up uh cards on the field equal to the number of cards that can place a spell counter on my side of the field that I control, and I could place a spell counter on him equal to the number of cards that I destroyed. His monster effect is when effect is activated, quick effect. Once per turn, I can target a card I control that could place a spell counter on it, return it to the hand, negate and destroy it, and um he if and place the same amount of spell counters on him equal to the card that got destroyed. And also he cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and if he's destroyed by battle with the spell counter on, I can search a normal spell card. Then we have two Magister of Endymions. Each time a spell card is activated, place a spell counter on him, remove three spell counters, special summon him, and a face-up monster on my extra deck that could place a spell counter on. Once per turn, and place a spell counter on each. His monster's effect is I can only special summon him once per turn, and if he declares attack, place a spell counter on him. Uh, Once per opponent's turn, quick effect remove with three spell counters from my field, special summon a monster from my deck that can place a spell counter on. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed, I can put him into my pendulum zone and place the same number of spell counters on him as he had as a monster. Then we have one Inflection of Endymion. Each time a spell card is activated and resolves, I can place a spell counter on her as a pendulum monster, and I can remove three spell counters from her to special summon her and a monster from my hand, and place a spell counter on both. Uh, Once per turn. I can only special her monster effect is I can only special summon her once per turn. If this card special summoned, I could target a card my opponent controls and a card I control with a spell counter, except this card. Return the opponent's card and my card to the hand. Then place the same number of spell counters on this card that the return card that you return card had. So yeah, when this card with a spell counter is destroyed by battle, I can add an Endymion card from my deck to my hand. Then we have one Servant of Endymion. Pendulum effect is each time a spell card is activated and resolves, place a spell counter on her. I can remove three spell counters from this card, special summon both this card from my pendulum zone and a monster from my deck with 1,000 or more attack that could place a spell counter on it. And place a spell counter on each. Her monster effect is I can only special summon Servants of Endymion once per turn. This card with a spell counter can attack directly once per turn. Quick effect, I can discard a card, place a spell counter on each card you control that you can place a spell counter on. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place this card in the pendulum zone. Then place the same number of spell counters on it had as a monster. That is it for the Endymion package. Now let's move on to the Mythical Beast package. We have three Mythical Beast Jackal King. The pendulum effect is if I have no card in my other pendulum zone, I can destroy this card, and if I do special summon a face-up Mythical Beast monster from my extra deck, except Mythical Beast Jackal King, once per turn. Each time a spell is activated, place two spell counters on this card when the spell resolves. Once per turn, when an opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, I can remove two spell counters from your field, my field, negate the activation, and if I do, destroy that card. Then we have two Mythical Beast Master Cerberus. If I have no card in my other pendulum zone, I can destroy this card, and if I do, add a level 7 or lower Mythical Beast effect monster from my deck to my hand, and that's where Mythical Beast Jackal King activate his effect, destroy him, add Mythical Beast Jackal King to my hand, activate Mythical Beast Jackal King to destroy him, and special summon Mythical Beast Master Cerberus. Each time a spell, his monster effect is each time a spell card is activated, place two spell cards on this card when that spell resolves. Cannot be destroyed by
card effects while 4 or more spell counters are on the field. Once per turn, you can remove 4 spell counters from my field. For, target a monster your opponent controls, banish it face up, and if I do, this card gains attack equal to the monster's original attack till the end of the opponent's turn. Then we have 1 Mythical Beast Medusa. If I have no card in my Pendulum Zone, I can target a monster in my graveyard that can place a spell counter on, destroy this card, and if I do special summon that monster, place a spell counter on it. Each time a spell is activated, place a spell counter on this card when the spell resolves. Once per turn, during the battle phase quick effect, I can remove 2 spell counters from the field, then target a face-up monster on the field. Its attack and defense become half its current attack and defense till the end of its turn. That's it for the Mythical Beast package. Now let's move on to like the random pendulum monsters. We have 3 Magical Abductor. Magical Abductor's effect is the pendulum effect is each time a spell card is activated or resolves, place a spell counter on this card, remove 3 spell counters from her, and I can search my deck for a pendulum monster into my hand. Our monster effect is each time a spell card is activated, place a spell counter on this card. When the spell resolves, gains 100 attack for each spell counter on it. Once per turn, I can remove 3 spell counters from this card. Add a level 1 spellcaster from my deck to my hand. In this deck, I don't have a level 1 spellcaster, so I never ever usurp monster effect. I'm sorry about that, guys. Then we have 3 Chronograph Sorcerer. Don't use him for his monster effect. Use him for a pendulum effect. I can activate. During my main phase, I could destroy this card and special summon or activate a Time Gazer from in the Pendulum Zone from my deck, and that's where Time Gazer Magician comes in. Don't use him; he's just a spell. Don't use him as an effect. His effect, use him as link material. Yeah. Then we have that's it for the Pendulum monsters. Now on to the monsters. We have 2 Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. If this card's normal summon, search a spellbook card. We have a Cyberstein. If this card's normal summon, or not, no, sorry. I could pay 5,000 life points, special summon a fusion monster for my extra deck. Then we have an Apprentice Illusion Magician. Discard a card to special summon her. Don't use her for anything else. Yeah, just a special summon. And then we have Kaiju to tribute a big beefy monster on my opponent's field. That is it for the monsters. Now let's move on to the spells. We have 1 Mythical Citadel of Endymion. Its effect reads that each time a spell card is activated, place a spell counter on this card when the spell resolves. If a card with a spell counters is destroyed, place its spell counters on this card once per turn. If you would activate a card effect by removing a spell counter from a card you control, you could remove that many spell counters from that card from this card instead. If this card would be destroyed, I can remove a spell counter from this card instead. So basically, I use the effect to where if a monster needs to remove spell counters, I can remove the spell counters from here instead. And it's also really good protection for, like, if it has a lot of spell counters and people want to target it and destroy it for Selene Queen. And I'll show you why later. Okay, then we have 3 mythical institutions. Sorry about that. Its effect reads, each time a face-up mythical beast pendulum monster card you control is destroyed by battle card effect, I could place 2 spell counters on this card. Once per turn, you can remove any number of spell counters from your field and 1 monster to your hand from your deck or face-up extra deck with a level equal to the number removed that you can place a spell counter on. If this card on the field would be destroyed by card effect, I can remove a spell counter from this card instead. Then we have 3 Spell Power Mastery to search an Endymion card. Spell counters for monsters, and I could put more spell counters on monsters if I have more Spell Power Grasp in the graveyard or Spell Power Mastery. 1 Spell Power Grasp, add 2 spell counters, target a card on the field.
it gains a spell counter, and when it resolves, that's another spell counter. And then we have Spell Book of Knowledge. Uh, get searched by the blue boy. You use the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy to search Spellbook of Secrets. Spellbook of Secrets to search for a Spellbook card. Search for Spellbook of Knowledge. He's summoned on the field. You activate Spellbook of Knowledge. You send him to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. Then we have Call by the Grave to stop hand traps. We have a Terraforming. We have a Raigeki. We have Putteriches. And we have a Monster Reborn. So that is it for my... Oh, wait, shoot. I'm new to this. I'm sorry. I have an extra deck. Here comes this extra deck. Gravity Controller. Woohoo. Um, one non-link monster in an extra monster zone. Cannot be used as link material. The turn it is link summoned. This card in the extra monster zone cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster in the main zone. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster in the extra monster zone, you can put both the opponent's monster and this card to the deck. Then we have Crowley. 2 spell counter monsters. If this card's link summon, I can reveal 3 spellbook cards with different names from my deck, and my opponent, randomly picks one for me to add to my hand, shuffle the rest into the deck, and I can only use this effect once per turn. Each time one level 5 or higher spell counter monster, normal spell counter monster you normal summon can be summoned without tributing. Nightmare Phoenix, 2 monsters, different names. If this card's link summoned, discard a card, target spell trap, opponent controls, destroy it. Then if this card was co-linked, which I don't use that second effect, but if this card was co-linked, when this effect was activated, I could draw a card. Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior, 2 spell counters monster. If this card's link summoned, puts a spell counter on it. Gain strange attack for each spell counter on it. You can only activate each of following effects of Daybreaker. The Shining Magical Warrior once per turn. If a spellcaster monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, place a spell counter on this card. I can remove 2 spell counters from this card to target a card on the field, destroy it. Witch's Apprentice. Dark monsters gain 500, light monsters lose 500. If this card is destroyed by battle card effect, you can target a dark monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only activate the effect once per turn. And then we have Selene Queen. This is where the fuel spell card comes in. You can remove a spell counter on it so it's not destroyed, because she can't. If this card is link summoned, place a spell counter on this card equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyard. And that's both fields and graveyards. While an Endymion card is on the field, your opponent cannot. Your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. So if they try to destroy that card, like if that's the only Endymion card on the field, but they can't because you have a lot of spell counters on it, and you remove those, she's protected by battle. So yeah. Once per turn during main phase, quick effect, remove 3 spell counters from my field. Special summon spell counter from my hand or graveyard defense to zone this card points to. Then we have Zephyra Metaltron, which I don't really use. 2+ monsters. Oh wait, she just needs 2+ spell counters, including a link monster. No, sorry, spell counter monster. What? 2 monsters, including a spellcaster monster. Sorry, I read that wrong. He needs 2+ monsters special summon from the extra deck. If a monster this card points to that was special summon from the extra deck is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, I add a monster from my graveyard or face-up pendulum from my extra deck to my hand. I could target a monster on each player's field that was special summoned from the extra deck except this card. Banish both until the end phase, and I can only use each effective Zephyr Metaltron once per turn. Boral Sword Dragon, Borolo Dragon, 2 Odd Eyes Vortex Dragons. If this card special summon, target the face-up attack monster. Opponent controls return to the hand during either player's turn. When a spell trap card monster effect is activated, I can show face-up pendulum monster from the extra deck, negate the activation, and destroy it. Odd Eyes Absolute, Link 7. He gets destroyed. Special summon Odd Eyes. Or even you can go a step further and summon Cyberstein, activate his effect to fusion summon Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. And then you have something like, let's say, Endymion, the Mighty Magister of Magic, the Mighty Master of Magic. And then you XC summon using these two into Absolute. Absolute's effect is he needs 2 level 7 monsters. When any player's monster declares an attack, detach X's material from this card, negate the attack. Then you can special summon an Artist monster from my hand or graveyard. So you go. You have Cyberstein on the field. You attack him. Activate Absolute Dragon by sending Odd-Eyes Vortex Dragon as material to the graveyard. Then you get to special summon Odd-Eyes Vortex Dragon. His next effect is if this XD cards into the graveyard, I can special summon an Odd Eyes monster from my extra deck except Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. And I can only activate, that's where the 2 comes in. So boom, boom. Now you have 2 Odd Eyes Vortex Dragons. That's kind of nice. Sadly, it's a hard one per turn, but still, it's something nice. And then, last but not least, we have number 11, the guy. Detach a material, target a monster, opponent controls, take control of that monster. This card cannot attack until turn you activate this effect. Alright, well,